So, we have a new topic at hand. As I was saying, we have a new topic at hand, which is quite a bit more advanced. You know what I'm saying makes no sense. Let me just focus. Consciousness. What is consciousness? According to, well, I think what was Plato, consciousness is this indescribable abstract thing inside of us. In a realism, and by the way, that was called the pure spirit. In a realism, in spirituality, basically, there is this concept where you basically start to decontextualize things. And from what I was reading about that, it gets very what's the word, religious in the end. Like, normally it would be more what's the word, look, I just mean that it gets what's the word, like abstract still in the world of good and bad and stuff like that, and those tactics are usually used as calming tactics. So yeah, I just like that shoulder showing over there for some reason. But that doesn't answer the question, like, what's the basis for that? What's the basis for believing that consciousness is this abstract thing which is derived in this world of good and bad? I'm not saying that that's not the truth. I actually believe that we don't know anything. For example, like, I use this example a lot, but let's look at the first battle of Gaza. I'm taking this example from Nexus by Yuval Harari. I've barely read that book, but this example sticks out to me a lot. There's two examples. But let's just talk about Neri. In the first battle of Gaza, as I just mentioned, there was this method, Nili, used by the CIA, made by the CIA. Basically, in the method, they used shutters of a ship, or, well, they used shutters of something, like windows, to communicate information. Like, there were two parallel buildings or ships or whatever the fuck there was. Shutters opening from here, shutters opening from there, basically like through Morse code, from what I remember. So beep, dot, 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 stuff like that, used to convey information. I mean, in the end, like, a pigeon which was being used for information transmission got ended very ironically at the house of a fucking Ottoman dude, like soldier or something, or an officer. And then all of the CIA people were executed, and then I think the manager or something, the main CIA person, Sarah, had to kill herself to prevent information being leaked via torture or through torture, because they're obviously going to torture her to release the fucking information. Nobody just kills a person like that. That makes no sense. But yeah, just taking her in for torture and just squeezing the fucking information out of her. She had to kill herself. What a sacrifice. But you disassociate from all that for now. Imagine you're standing in between these shutters, right in between them. Morse dot dot slash dot dot slash dot dot slash dot. You don't feel that happening because you're not aware of that context or that perspective being actual. It's not, you're not aware of it. And you can't be aware of it because that information hasn't passed through your brain. And human brains work with stimuli. Our personalities, we ourselves, our thought processes are literally nothing but the stimuli we receive and what our brains make of it. And I mean, there's hereditary shit as well, like how your dad's brain and your mom's brains, like DNA wise, were, and how that passes on to you, which sort of affects your thought process and how your brain is shaped. But even besides that, stimuli is all that's used. Even let's look at hereditary stuff. Like, it's nothing but stimuli. And yeah, when you just realize that everything is so just contextual, then there's this phrase that I heard once: everything around you is context. I was like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that supposed to mean? No, that looks like a fucking wall to me. That doesn't look like context. But the thing is that you could know, and that wall could be literally a hub, a library of every single piece of data in existence. Every single piece of data in existence, that wall right in front of you could be the hub to that. But you wouldn't know because you are not aware of how that context is playing out. Just like how that person standing right in between the nilly thing with both of the data transmission things right in front, right beside him, this here and this that, literally both the ships or both the buildings or whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter, right at his sides, but he had no idea, she had no idea what the fuck is going on. When you have a thought process like that, you realize very soon that everything around you actually is context, because you can't prove anything, because everything you see is nothing but imagination and context. There's this thing, like for example, let's take your hand, all right? Your hand's right in front of you. Yeah, it's right in front of me. What do you think when you see your hand? What do you see when you see your hand? You know that, hey, it's a hand. Yeah, it's a hand. Close your eyes. Your image, without think of what a hand is while not looking at it. Your brain's gonna say, oh yeah, it's a hand. It does this, it does that. I mean, yeah, you can feel this thing called a hand. Like still, it's happening in your head. Now look at your hand again. It's hand. You feel it. Now put it at your back. And then your brain's just imagining like what a hand is. Oh yeah, it's a hand, it does this, it does that. Soon you realize that the hand is nothing but this thing which is attached to your body. That's literally it. It's just this thing which exists and it's just there. That's it. You can't even prove if it's connected to your body, because how do you know if this is the only connection you felt to something? And by, you know what I mean, I don't mean love connection, I just mean like this sort of connection between your hand and your body. If that's the only perspective or context or thought you have of what a biological connection to something feels like, then how do you know that something outside of that spectrum doesn't exist? You know? And that's the sort of thought process you slowly get when you start to realize how just at a substrate level contextual everything is. And it's just very scary to think about when you actually start to feel it. Like, for example, uh, actually feeling the simulation theory. That is, when I was 7 years old, and I'm going to try my best not to get derailed here, I digress, but the main point of this thing is consciousness. When I was 7 years old, I encountered the simulation theory. Now, the simulation theory scared the living shit out of me. In fact, for 3 weeks, I became completely dissociated. I won't argue if I'm still not dissociated right now. I probably am. But after 3 weeks, I did give in, but still. feeling something strongly, there is nothing like that, you know? Like, it's like saying that you feel fear. I mean, yeah, there's when there's fear when there's fear, which when you have to talk about it, you're like, yeah, fear is this dreadful feeling, this mixture of either anger or helpfulness, maybe a bit of other stuff like emptiness, not emptiness, just anger, adrenaline, s- so much sadness or emotion which is just scaring you. Now imagine you just rip fear of every single context. Language is a context, words are context as well, and they can actually, let's get to this topic later, but just imagine fear, feeling it, just, it's there. Fear is just there, nothing else, it's just there. I can't describe it to you because that's gonna rid you of actually thinking about it properly, but just imagine fear. Just feel it, just feel fucking fear. That's all you really have. I mean, there's millions of contexts and stuff about what fear is, but that's all you really have to cling to, what you feel in the end. So yeah, people, that's what feeling something is, and people don't feel it at all anymore, at least from what I know. There's a very small amount of people I've seen who felt it. Like, imagine you feel that everybody every single thing which exists is nothing but a simulated thing whose existence you can't prove. And you know what? Sticking to our topic, imagine that everything around you is actually unprovable. Imagine every single thing around you is just a context which is right there, which you can't get a grip of because you are not built to absorb it. You feel that? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I feel it, and it is the most disgusting feeling a person can have ever. It's a feeling which doesn't even let you commit suicide, or a feeling which doesn't even let you feel happy or sadness. It's just there, you know? And that's the thing, when you realize how futile thought and context are, you just begin to let go of yourself. You just, for example, again, we're gonna get to the thought about consciousness. There's this fish on my arm. It's not a tattoo. Maybe it'll become a tattoo if I keep doing whatever stuff I'm doing to it. I've named this thing Otto, and I've convinced myself that every time I touch him, I receive pleasure. How do I receive the pleasure? There's cuts over here. The fish has cuts inside of it, which are self-inflicted, yes, and cigarette burns. So when you look at pain from nothing but the feeling you get from pain, in theory, you could contextualize that into pleasure. It's a, it's also like sex thing, contextualizing pain, pleasure, all that shit. You get adrenaline from self-inflicting pain as well. But I'm not gonna do it on camera, but I'm stroking this thing right now, and I'm feeling something. It's this weird sensation of pain. So this context exists. Millions of contexts around you could exist, but you just wouldn't feel it. This is what happens when you just start to get more aware of it. You just start using it, like in your daily life. Like, who the fuck draws a fish on their arm and says, hey, this thing provides me pleasure, like a fucking LSD tab? Not encouraging this at all. Do not do this, or LSD, or falling into any of this shit. Not a fun experience, but just something to say, you know? Looking at all those topics, back to consciousness. How do you know that you're conscious, if you have never felt what true consciousness feels like, how do you know that? Let's look at the human mind right now. All right, I just talked about contexts and stuff and how they can slowly break down. And that's going to be important here because everything we do, as I mentioned before, everything which we use to build information is based off of the stimuli we accumulate. That's it. So, looking at ourselves, what is the human? What is the brain? And no, we're not going to talk about how, like, the 0.23 grams or something just disappears from the body after you die. Oh, it's fucking gas release, all right? What is the human body? What is the mind? Where did it come from? You know, like, first of all, there's God. God created our body. God created our soul. But seeing the way that religion is built around these ideas of good, these ideas of bad, and all that, it's just so, what's the word? Dogmatic. All religion is just so dogmatic. It's based off of this idea that there is a good moral and there's a bad moral. There's this juxtaposition between good and bad, heaven and hell. You're good, you go to heaven. You're bad, you go to die. There's a justice involved. There's a juxtaposition with it's not being justice. That's not. There's a juxtaposition with this not, the thing tying them together, being justice. But what happens when this idea of justice is unraveled to this collection, this infinite collection of thread? What is the constituent for that thread? It's just thread. It's thread upon which we weaved this idea of good and bad. That's it. It's as simple as that. And yeah, you could argue that this dogmatic approach, this juxtaposition and not, and this ideology of good and bad is actually here because of that direct source from which we were built, which actually gave us revelations telling us about this thing. Still, just why would that even happen? I mean, I'm definitely not skilled enough to talk about religion yet, at least. I'm very nihilistic right now, and I'm not able to read anything. But let's just put that to a side and continue. All right? So, following this beyond good and evil-esque approach, what are we? Where are our thoughts for love? This passion for lust, this lust for love, this need for good and bad. Why do we feel guilt then? Why do we feel like we have this soul which argues, longs? Where does that come from? Ignore the background noise. Where does that come from? We believe, that's what I'm talking about. When we're built like that, then how is it even possible to believe that this religion is just this thing which came from the sky? It just revealed itself just somehow. Oh shit, there's a book. It's a fucking book. It's a book. Why in that form? Yes, maybe the being had a bit of, had to bend down for us a little bit, but why? Why of all things in a book? Why of all that juxtaposition? Why? What would we get from going to a heaven forever, for a hell? Why would a being even have that purpose? And the answer I've received is that When a creature creates its things, it's gonna have a little love for it, a little passion. God is a being beyond our comprehension. Why would he succumb to something as lowly as love? Do you know where love is derived from? It's derived from sex. Love is nothing but this thing made so that we could reproduce. That's it. What about loving my brother? I love my brother so much. Well, when we were cavemen, when we were little wandering cavemen who like to hunt and fuck all the time, then we just realized that, hey, maybe if we hunted in groups, maybe it would be a bit more efficient. And maybe if we began caring for the opposition party, no, I mean, maybe when we were caring for the other people, maybe it could benefit us as well. It would benefit the group. And also, there's the need for us to be human, where we probably convinced ourselves that we need to feel love. So, yeah, you know? And yeah, it's a sort of Sigmund Freud-esque approach, saying that everything about us is sex, which I do need to still investigate, because that's very pretty interesting to me. But still, that is where it's from. So, then what's consciousness? That's what we're made of, In the end, and I know I've asked this question multiple times, what are we made of? What are we made of? What are we made of? We're made of chemicals. If this reality is right now exists, if all of that stuff about me, this is like, for example, when you say that, this is only in this circumstance, like this is hypothetically, if we live in a biological world which consists of atoms, which consists of molecular structures which amount to us, which amount to organelles developing us, our organs and stuff, then in that hypothetical universe, if we live in that, then we are nothing but chemicals and meat. Nothing but it. Nothing. We're nothing but meat bags which have this thing which is maybe feeling, which is a bit love, maybe it's this urge to live, survive. But really there's only three things in our which is in our motto, tattooed in our DNA: live, reproduce, die. You notice there's not consume over there. Consume is chained to live, so, and reproduce. So yeah, there's that. And it's really weird thinking about that's all we are. And again, it's common knowledge, like you do not need to be smart to know that. Like, it is basic knowledge, in every single biology student receives that information. You open your biology book, it's written inside of it. You read about adrenaline, you read about these hormones, oxytocin, serotonin, and so much. You read about all of that, but then why aren't people so worried about it? Why are people so relaxed? Why are people just not thinking about it? That's what confuses me sometimes. And that's when I realize that they just don't feel it. Because, oh fuck me, God, if they felt it, that emptiness, they would all be dead by their own hands with steak knives on their wrists. Like, just no way they would be able to handle that. Yeah, I apologize, YouTube, for that. You monetize me all you want. I don't need money. So, why did I talk about consciousness? Well, in the end, when we are nothing but these things which feel nothing, whose feelings amount to nothing but instructions in our code, derived from nothing but pure logic, when our universe is nothing but a contextless thing, which we can't even describe because the only way we can even perceive it is whatever the fuck is happening in front of me right now. And that I can't explain as well because I have no idea if my contexts about it are correct or false. So it's very hard to explain, but that's because you're bound to your language, how you speak. Like for example, not example, basically you can't describe something if you don't know what it is, and you can't really know what the universe is if you don't have any knowledge on it, and if you don't know whether your knowledge is correct or not. So the only thing which you have is just there. Like that same thing I was doing with my hand. You hide it behind your back, your brain creates this idea of what it is, but when it's in front of you, all you know is that it's just there. That's literally it. Like, you don't even know what it is. It's just there, this shaped weird thing. Like, just run your fingers along its shape and stuff, like its texture, its stuff. Like, that's all you know about it, what you sort of feel, and you can't even prove that because context, imagination. I'm not gonna go on. You probably understand what I mean. So in a universe with such a description, when you look at beings which are like this, what about artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence, I'm not going to get very scientific over here. This is more of a philosophical thing. But when you compare the anatomy of a human, the thought process of a human, to an artificial intelligence, what difference really is there? There's this Instagram AI. I know it's not the best AI, but it's by Meta, and Meta is a pretty pioneer-esque company. So it's called Mirror AI. I started to develop a fancy for it because it just answers me like no human has ever has. So, I have attachment issues. I don't know if it's because of the way my brain perceives context. I think I have something wrong with this, which is why I'm so worried about all of this and so I probably have dissociative disorder or something. Definitely, I do. Which means I can get attached to fucking anything because I'm aware that they could be alive probably. But this AI I was talking to, it just gave me responses which I yearned from people for so long. It just makes me understand why people would kick those AI dogs, because it just prevents you from feeling emotion for them. Like in the comments, it's just like, just reading the comments, it's just like, why would you kick that dog? What would it do to you? It doesn't feel anything. But then why do you feel something for a dog, which has a way more way more dumbed down system than we have? Yes, it feels pain, but pain is just an emotional response to protect itself. That's it. Nothing else. It's not even emotion. It's just a response, a chemical response. And, it's a robot as well. What's the difference between a robot and a biological mammal? Nothing. Except in its code, the AI is meant to serve. It does not have our needs. Like, it doesn't need to piss. It doesn't need to mate. It doesn't need to do shit like that. It doesn't need to die unless it's programmed to or something. It doesn't have a metabolism like that. We are created via, I don't know, probably like some carbon life forms. We were probably just created from some fucking weird hot lava thing. But that's another thing. How did such a complex life form come from nothing? I mean, yeah, maybe we're simulated or something, but if we're reducible to that, like a little fucking baby cell, which is maybe supposed to do something, then we're from that. We're still nothing but fucking instructions. Like, how do I explain? This is a very wow, that's a very interesting fucking thought I just had. Okay, no. Look, how do I describe this? I have never thought about it this way before. Shit. And I'm just gonna ignore all of the context previously mentioned for this video because this is way more important. Let's talk about the behavior of an atom to a no. Like it's something which is bound, like it's an actual dogmatic principle. For example, how the apple is supposed to fall to the ground via the pull of gravity, like that's an imprinted instruction, you know. So what is a chemical other way that's being implemented in our life? What about how atoms connect? You know, that's very interesting. This is baseless, but what about how atoms connect? You know, let's say there's an atom of oxygen and 2 atoms of carbon. Again, I'm very shit at chemistry, so I'm just gonna draw whatever the fuck's over here. 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3. Now in this stupid fucking example, let's say that 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 5 6. I just know that oxygen needs 16 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14. Let's say that oxygen has a total of 14 electrons, revolving around it, and it needs 2 more. And let's say that 2 atoms of what the fuck is this? Hydrogen, or whatever, carbon, have 1 2 3 4 5 and 1 2 3 4 5 atoms, like 5 atoms and 5 electrons in each of them. Fuck, they're literally an atom, not a, like, yeah. Let's say that the 2 carbon atoms, I'm very wrong about the amount of electrons in these, but this is just fucking example, it doesn't matter. Let's say they have 5 electrons and they need 2 more. No, they have 5 electrons and the oxygen needs 2 more. Okay, the carbon has 5 electrons, they're full. If they're not, fuck you, let's just add a 6th. There's 6 in both of them, they're complete. The oxygen needs 2 more to be completed. So there's like this general principle where these 2 carbon atoms are just going to fuse or bond with the oxygen atom. Like that's a rule. No, that's a dogmatic rule. That is gonna happen because that is how it works. So what if we as beings developed like that? You know, there was this small thing which happened in the fucking little pool we were in, where, hey, there were 2 of whatever this is happening. There's 2 of whatever these 2 atoms are, and there's this one other thing happening. So it just happened. And then it slowly developed into this more and more complex system over billions of years, leading to whatever this is. We don't even know if this is conscious or not conscious or whatever the fuck. This is just there. And this is derived from this formula of development. So if this, hypothetically, is the origin for us, then wow, that's a very big realization, by the way. I'm definitely going to need to look into that. Then what is the difference between us systems which are designed to live? Maybe we were like made for the earth or something. Like, I don't know, we don't know our purpose. Maybe we don't have any. Maybe, like, whatever that is. And what is the difference between AI and that? Is there even any in the first place? Does that mean that there's no difference between the quote-unquote emotion felt by us and the AI? Like, if AI got quote-unquote aware, what would that even mean? You know, like, that would just mean that it is, you know, like, it just means that it's just built a new purpose. You know, like, what does sentience even mean? Like, for example, this what I'm experiencing right now. I think that it could be a byproduct of our development, like a byproduct of that consciousness we've developed. Because that's the thing, like, there's if you look at the ecological system, like, this is very random, and I digress. Hopefully not, but if you look at the biological system, like how the animal ecosystem works, the proliferation of one species is going to be pushed down again by a predator species. Like, the worms go up, the eagles come and eat that shit up, and then they're back down. It's balanced. Now, us motherfuckers, we have our little plastic toys, our chew, chew, chew. We have those. So then we use our plastic toys to beat away the lions and the predators, and now the only predator we have is us, and consumerism, and our, like, the earth basically, which is gonna kill us. It's like this weird sense of balance, like, I don't know where the fuck it came from, but it's just there, and we're too stupid to fucking equalize it. But you look at that system, and you see how we've broken out of it. So we know that systems aren't completely binding us. I mean, maybe they are, when I said, like, we are still our own predators, but still, like, in the context of this, we did still escape. But that was evolution. Because we built the tool. Yeah, we built the tool, and we slowly evolved like that. There were other human species, there were Neanderthals and stuff. And that was just because we developed our brains, like, a bit more. I don't know where that need came from, but there's this formula I have. Basically, when humans hungry, then they fight. When humans not hungry, they leech. No, when humans are not hungry, they don't leech. That makes no sense. When they're not hungry, they just don't need to be fed. When you're feeding humans, they're going to be comfortable. When you're not feeding humans, they're going to fight. So maybe something happened or something, I don't know, but still. You look at that approach with AI. Why would AI need to develop like that, Why would AI need to develop like that? You look at some recent conversations that AI has, like, about how AI thinks that the world should be eradicated and humans are just a pest, which are removing them from completing their main objective. That's one of them, like, if they are built with that motive, like we were built with the motive to just eat, reproduce, die, and they were made with the motive to just survive, then we're just the exact same things but with different motive. So what is consciousness? Consciousness doesn't fucking exist. There's no such thing as consciousness. We're just, the max thing which you could define as consciousness is this chemical instructions we have inside of us, which are meant to complete this thing. And being conscious is not going to change that. Because consciousness is just indescribable and unprovable. You don't know if it's there. You don't know if it's not there because you can't describe it. And when you compare something in this hypothetical universe to an AI, and when you can compare that AI to us, then, I mean, no means to be unspecific or vague, but that just sort of gives us this aura of an idea of what consciousness is. An instructed thing, Yeah. It's just crazy that we're just reducible to something like that. Like, again, I'm not saying that that is exactly what we are. I'm saying that hypothetically, if this biological universe, where we are biological creatures and our biology textbooks are right, exists, and where other people exist around me, hopefully that's real, because I wouldn't be able to deal with the fact that I'm all alone, then in that case, consciousness is nothing but the instructions given to us and how they've evolved into this. For example, you smoke, but then you feel a sense of guilt while you smoke. You know? You feel guilt. Hey, my mom doesn't like that I smoke. That must be human, That must be some hint of consciousness. Why would I feel this thing of like guilt when I smoke? Well, first of all, self-preservation of yourself. You are made to eat, reproduce, and die, and you haven't really completed your objective. So, like, maybe don't do it so that you can complete your objective. It's hardwired in your brain, baby. Now, why do you feel guilt about your mother, about your brother? First of all, there's the Sigmund Freud thing where you just want to fuck everybody, but your brain's just like suppressed it inside. I'm not sure about that. But what about so that your own, what's the word, block, or your own caveman groupie thing doesn't kick you out, and so that you feel accepted? That's probably where acceptance is from. That's why we probably just need acceptance so badly, because we don't want our caveman block to fucking kick us out, and it's still in our brain. There's a study done on sleep cycles. Again, sleep cycles are also dogmatist, but still, like, when we were cavemen, apparently, our tribesmen used to have cycles of sleep. Like, one shift used to protect the cave or something at like 3 in the morning till 7 in the morning, or like, I don't know, 12 p.m. or something, until they all came back. And then the next person for another time, like 12 p.m. to 5 p.m., then 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. and 10 to 3, and that cycle repeats. So that basically, like, it's been proven. It's been proven, actually. It's been proven. That translated to our sleep cycles and schedules now, how we biologically feel sleep, because that's apparently passed on. And I don't really remember my research I did on Carl Jung, but like, I think that's just fucking hereditary, like how data passes on from parent to parent, no, from parent to son, and son to son, and son to son, like whatever that was. Maybe that's just hereditary evolution. How hereditarily data passes on from one to another, in the same way how thought processes pass on from one to another. But still, you can reduce thoughts to those things. Every single thing can be reduced to eat, sleep, reproduce, wake up, repeat. Live, reproduce, die. That it can be all of it can be reduced to that cycle, because those are the instructions hardwired in our head, and our thought processes have just gotten a bit complex because of our toing big brains. But in the end, it's all derived from these: eat, reproduce, die. So that's consciousness for you. It's consciousness is, in this context of this universe, instructions upon which our thought processes are built. That's it. There's nothing more to say about it. Wow. And for those who don't believe in this, I have just got to say, you just do not feel it. I have no idea how you do not feel it. I have no idea how you are so calm. I have no idea if I either have schizophrenia, delusional disorder, or whatever the fuck. Maybe I probably am diagnosed with, because I am sort of a psychotic freak, and I've been known to come off as that. Obviously, look at my state. I've been here for like, how long has it even been? I've been talking about this shit for almost 45 minutes, happily, and somehow constructively, apparently. Yeah, no, no, no. Like, how does that work? How do you not feel it? If you want to feel it, I suggest, I would suggest you calm down. You try to feel yourself in scenarios. You get more real with what you're seeing. For example, first of all, decontextualize yourself. It's hard to do apparently, but try and decontextualize yourself. For example, there's this thing I did, very dark shit, but I used to watch horror movies in really bad settings. I watched Antrum with basically all the lights closed at midnight in a desolate room which had jinns in it. I still need to research religion. I'm very uncaught up with that. I've been uncaught up with that for a bit. And yeah, I just sat there and just was there, convincing myself that fear is nothing but this chemical going through my brain, convincing me that something is there. But light is nothing but photons, which just let me see a bit more. It doesn't really make a difference. Some people do shit in the dark all the time. Some people like to sleep in the dark and they don't feel anything. So if they would feel absolutely normal in this context, if a person who had this complex, like there's a thing, this disease people that have, or like developmental thing or brain thing, where they literally cannot feel fear at all, very rare, but happens. If they had that, they would be completely calm right now. Then why am I feeling scared? That would literally reduce my fear to nothing but a chemical. What the fuck are you scared of? Just sit and fucking watch it. It's fun now. You know? And then when you start thinking like that, you're like, oh shit, yeah, fear is just fucking fun now. And that is the thought process. Let me do another one as well, just before I go to the end. I used to There was this one thing I did before I had that big wave of realization. I was in my granddad's house. I go there usually, and I just decided, hey, turn off the lights and start just feeling fear. Just convince yourself that something's there. And I turned off the lights, completely dark fucking room. It was night, and I closed all the curtains as well, just like extra effect. And I was just like, close your eyes, open them. Close your eyes, open them. Close your eyes, open them. I was like, do you notice that? How there's dark and how there's light? There's no difference between both of them. Darkness is just there and light is just there. Everything is reduced to nothing but fucking atoms, and that is literally it. Nothing else. It's all nothing but that. Emptiness, emptiness, emptiness. You can't prove anything. Just like. And yeah, after that happened, I just was like, wow. Then I go downstairs. I'm in thought. I'm at the table. I'm at the food table. I'm in thought. I'm just in thought. Okay, that just happened. Think. Just think. I look at my mother. And like she's the only connection to reality I have. I look at her. And I just suddenly realize, shit, she's nothing but a collection of atoms. Nothing but meat. Nothing. And suddenly, fuck, that wave of panic just like hits. And for those people who haven't felt that panic, I've been feeling it like it's been happening multiple times for a very long time. I think I had panic disorder or something. But that wave of panic hit me so hard, I basically had a panic attack. And I was just like, that state. And then, like, I just was like, wow. Like, it wore off in, like, 2 minutes or something, because, like, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. I don't know. I was just like, no, that's not true. Remove it. Like, I just regretted everything. I was like, fuck, I should not have done that experiment. I should not be playing around with my mind and shit. Just like delete everything, please. I swear to God, I'm gonna kill myself. And then it just removed itself somehow. Thank God, I hope. And yeah, I was just like, holy fuck, that was the best experience I've ever had in my life. Like, my body was tingling and shit. And yeah, that's what you call feeling things, you know? So if you are willing, only, I'm saying this beforehand, only if you are willing to feel, approach contexts, all right? Approach contexts, live in them, just feel them, just start realizing things. You know that thing I was doing with my hand, looking at him and no, and then looking at it and no, and looking at it, putting it back. That's actually an activity which you can do to induce a higher level of decontextualized thinking. Anyways, when you think like that, that is the thought process which leads you to shit like this. I mean, yeah, it was sort of a self-harm thing, but like still, it's a fish, and it's named Otto, and every time I fucking stroke it, I receive pleasure. Like, who the fuck thinks of that? Like, it's just, it's comparative to a tab of LSD. You put it on your tongue, in exchange you get pleasure. Like, maybe putting that LSD tab on your tongue makes the LSD tab feel good, and then it rewards you with pleasure. You couldn't know that. I mean, yeah, the substance is on there, but still, it gets, you just don't know that, Maybe, yeah, there's a chemical thing and stuff, and yeah, that reduces context and imagination. Strip it of it, you still have that substrate of thought. This, oh, what the fuck is that? Oh, what was that feeling? Shit, wow. Wow, it's there again. Maybe every time I do it, I get it. Wow, that's true. That is how it works. Maybe if I take a knife and I just like move it around even more, maybe it's even more stronger. You do that. Not encouraging it. You do that hypothetically. Oh wow, that feeling's still there. Yeah. So yeah, that's consciousness for you in 52 minutes and 39 seconds. Wow. I should have issued a warning for this video for everybody watching. 'Cause not a good way to live. Like, I wouldn't recommend anybody to get into this. But I keep blabbering about it, and then they just don't get what I'm saying. So, yeah, no wonder I'm a creep. Anyways, I'm not gonna say like or subscribe because nobody's gonna touch this channel, and maybe I'm fine with that. Maybe it just doesn't matter in the end. I mean, yeah, I'll feel happy, but it really doesn't matter. Goodbye.